Yes, another Friday, which means we are California dreaming for a Saturday. SoCal Saturdays here with our friends at AmWager on the Horse Racing Happy Hour. You know who he is. He's Barry Spears, joins me every week on this show. We catch you on Friday so you can get ready for Saturday. Hopefully, you're having a good one out there. Some rain happened in Southern California, so of course they are off the turf on Friday as we read through these PPs for tomorrow. So hopefully back on the turf by the time we are talking with you on Saturday. Barry, you said before we jumped on, fun card. Could not agree more. We have been really thrilled, frankly, since we started this series with field sizes, with sort of the mix of races, this infusion of the Northern California runners. It's been fun, man.
Yeah, it's an eclectic mix of some great races and a real challenge for handicappers, and that I love. And you get some prices mixed in there, and it's a great day.
It really is. We'll be going through the full card. We do this every Friday ahead of the races on Saturday. It's with our friends at AmWager, available on the Happy Hour. You can always catch my column over at the Sporting Tribune. The start of all of this was our friends over at the Sporting Tribune carrying my articles and different things around that. I have my first Kentucky Derby rankings up. How about that? My top 5 plus 3 others that I'm watching right now. So go check that out, thesportingtribune.com. Barry, let's get straight into it though, man. I'm excited to get into all of this, but we'll go to race 1 out at Santa Anita. It is a maiden special weight for Calibreds, going 6 furlongs on the flat turf course there for $65,000 in here. Barry, a really difficult race as far as figuring out who's going to fire off of a layoff or who's in form right now. Horses dropping out of other, sort of levels into a state bred level. Where did you land in this one?
Yeah, these races, especially on the turf, you get this real kind of mishmash of a lot of different things going on with the first time starters and then first time turf starters.
Yes, right.
With horses that have already run. So it gets to be a tough read sometimes, and you can look in the pedigree and do all that kind of stuff. But the way these races are run, there's really not much strategy to them. You really can't do too much with these young horses. So you kind of just have to let them go. And I think a horse like Go Prancer, who would be my top pick in here, kind of fits that bill. Has some precociousness in the pedigree. This horse hadn't been out for a while, since last May. But I think the baseline on that first race that this horse has, you can only move up a little bit from there. The turf makes a lot of sense, getting Lasix for the first time. Fresu's riding well, and this trainer, Phil D'Amato, is pretty much lights out on the turf out there usually. So we're going to go with that horse on top.
Yeah, and he brings horses back off these kinds of layoffs really well as well. And good off the claim as well, 22% when he gets a horse into his barn for the first time. And this horse not coming off a claim, I should be specific about that, but is entering the barn for the first time. I agree with you. I think that horse is really interesting. Had that one just outside of my top handicapping. I'm going to try one of those first timers that you mentioned earlier in Harbor Code, the 6 horse here for Carla Gaines. Nice trainer, about 20% with first timers. Gets Juan Hernandez for the mount here. I feel like this horse been working really, really well on the dirt. We'll get to try the turf, obviously, here. Desert Code, the sire in this one. Just a $2,000 job. Can you imagine, Barry? Picking off like a $30,000 check. He brought a horse for 2 G's. That's the best. And so I'll land on the I'll land on the 6 here. I'm not in love with any of the horses that have already started, which is essentially how I landed there. In second, I do have the 8 horse in Horizon. Wildcat ran really well, I thought, last time at this level over a good turf. I think we're going to have something similar to good turf by the time we get to tomorrow. And so, second place both times out, almost won on debut, going the 6 furlongs at Santa Anita. So if we get a similar play to that, I think 6-8 will be good enough for this one.
Yeah. I actually, Harbor Code would be my second choice in this race. I like those steady stream of works. Doesn't look like the horse really missed any. And probably is fit and ready. So I would expect this horse to run pretty good first time out. And then I'll round it out with the 7 Hothead, kind of a speed and fade type that might hang around.
There you go. All right. We'll move on to race 2. They're at Santa Anita. Again, we're presented by AmWager. If you haven't gotten in with AmWager yet, great news. You can still get the AmWager Edge. Online betting platform designed by horse players, for horse players. speed, power, top tier features. Get in with them. Everything from a pick six down to a simple win bet. They've got the tools you need to bet smarter, doing a 100% deposit match right now, up to $150 for new customers. You need an edge. You need Amwager. Get in now with our friends there, ahead of all of the great racing that's going to be happening around the country in the spring. Race 2 is a claimer, 32,000, down to 28 for some weight allowances, and that one 5.5 furlongs on the turf, $40,000 in the kitty here. This is for 3-year-olds, Barry. Nice field here, I thought. Even though it is short, I know you. I see the angle you're going to try here, and you're going against our guy Jorge Parabon, and I don't like it. How about that?
Yeah, it's funny that we didn't land, or I didn't land on a Parabon horse, because he really gets these horses cranked up like he did with Distant Fleet in that first race. But I think this horse runs into a field that's pretty quick and has some experience. So I'm going away from that one. I'm going to take a shot downfield here and go with Whiskey in the Teacup, the 2.
Nice.
I think this horse might end up being a lone closer situation. There's a lot of speed in this race, and this horse should line up to get a really good trip. I think this horse buyer numbers will probably float up because of the trip that this horse is going to get. So I think this horse is capable. It just needs the setup, and I think this is the right race for it. 12-1, couldn't resist, had to go forward with it.
Whiskey in a Teacup, maiden winner at the $50,000 level at Del Mar, and so we'll try to get back to that form. In this one, I landed on the 3 here, Barry, and Distant Fleet. I love a second timer in maiden races. I'll go ahead and take a shot here. This horse likewise won at the $50,000 level at Santa Anita last time out. Thought the race set up perfectly for this one, but I think this horse showed even on debut under Billy Georgia, who keeps the mount here, that he's ready to go. I know it's a Jorge Parabon. If you want to play against these favorites, there's a great stat for you. 0 for 19 the last times that he's tried to go back-to-back with winners in his barn. But I think the other numbers sort of overcome this, Barry. I think that horse will improve. I've liked the works over the dirt. I'm moving the PETA works to the side. I think this horse looked really good in those works. I think his other one, Panuco, has a serious shot here as well under Carmona. Won at the 25 claiming level last time. I don't think of 32 as being significantly higher. And so I'll go with the Parabons here, man. You and I are different. I'll run with the 3 and the 6 here.
Yeah, I'm going with the 4 Winds of Freedom, who's also probably will close a little bit and not be right on the pace or right off of it. So we're going to use that because it's a small field. I think you can get 2 horses to pass a couple and be in the exact end. We're going to use the 5 Run for Kidder third, another one that might be a little speed and fade type, going turf to dirt.
There you go. All right, we'll move on to race 3. We are presented again by Amwager, amwager.com, amwager.com. Go check them out. 100% deposit bonus up to $150 right now. Race 3 is an optional claimer for state breds. 6 furlongs on the dirt here, 67,000 in the kitty. Non-2 essentially for 4 and up here, Barry. I am interested here because you did land on the favorite, as did I, the 1, our Bucky Charm, who I thought looked a little lost last out, but I was trying to find a horse that was an obvious candidate to beat this one and just didn't come up with one.
Same. The horse didn't really all run that great. Probably needed the race. So I'll forgive that effort at this lower price. Should bounce back. And one thing you'll note is the last 2 buyers on the January 18th race and the May 25th race. Those 2 races are higher than everybody else's last 2 races. And when you get that kind of situation, I learned this a long time ago through Dave Litvin, rest in peace. Those horses win at a insanely high rate. I think it's like 60+%. So I wasn't trying to buck that trend. This horse looks good. But I will use the 4 and the 5 underneath just to round it out. It's a small field, so you got to kind of get it where you can. And I think Devil by Me might get the run of the race despite having our Bucky Charm in it.
Yeah, I think the 5 here Wind Ribbon is really interesting because if you toss that last race on the turf, this horse has 7 wins on the dirt, 21 times hitting the board and 31 tries on dirt. I love these kinds of horses, 9-year-old geldings that are still going to give you that kind of great effort in these sorts of races. Not in for the tag here because the horse did start back in a claimer for 16 at Los Al back in December. Wasn't claimed, kept in the Peter Miller barn here. And if you want to go on the every other type, I think the 5 is interesting here. So even in my longer sequences, I won't single here, Barry. I'll go 1 and 5. I know you're 1 and 4 here.
Yes, absolutely. 5 for third. The thing about the 5 that turned me off on him is
Okay.
the amount of third place finishes.
Yes.
I think he's going to be around it. I mean, the horse you could see, he's always around it.
Yep.
And he just one way or another, he could be in the winner's circle or third. So
Yeah, there you go. All right. So that is the opening pick 3 there at Santa Anita. We will move into race 4. Starts the middle pick 4. 4, 5, 6, and 7 here at Santa Anita. Going a mile on the turf course. Some of my favorite races in Southern California are on the turf course here. Another state bred race, 67,000 in the kitty here. This is for non-2 lifers as well. $20,000 optional claimer. Interesting morning line favorite in here, Barry. I'm going to let you go first here with the number 1, Princesa del Tigre. Comes at a 2-1 off of dirt starts, right? This horse hasn't run on turf since September of 2023. I was a little surprised to see this horse on top in the handicapping. I think I know my guy Barry. I imagine you're thinking the same thing as me, and you're going to try a long shot here.
absolutely. The first two choices, they just really are a head scratcher in this race. I can understand partly why they are favored on the morning line, and it's mostly because of the class. But you'll see, especially with Princesa del Tigre, her turf races aren't all that great or competitive in this spot. She would really have to improve and run something close to her synthetic figures to be
Right.
competitive, and I'm not sure she can do that. Ultimate High hasn't won in a while, hasn't won in 2 years, and comes close a lot, but likes to fade late and has 7 second place finishes. That's problematic for a guy like me. So we're definitely fading those two. I landed on the 7, Sassy Prancelot. I think there's a scenario where Billy Antongeorgi puts this horse on the lead and never looks back.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't really see too much speed, and in that regard, the 9 horse might be the only other speed, and I believe that the 7 is way faster earlier,
Okay.
and that might make the difference. I used the 2 horses coming out of the January 31st race.
Yes.
That Ultimate High finished second, Quantum Energy finished third, and I
Yep.
used the horses that got the trips. Sassy Prancelot was way wide the whole way around, and I think this race is a lot easier to handle than that one. I don't think this horse is going to get parked out wide, plus be closer to the lead. And then Quantum Energy really got stopped on the turn,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that really
Yes.
cost her the
Yes, she
race.
did.
And a
Yep.
clear run, she probably would have won. I don't know if she can get back to that same kind of effort in this race because the pace scenario is a little bit different, but I still think that she's going to benefit off of that last race.
I've got the 6 on top here, Quantum Energy. I totally agree about the trip last out. I trust Armando Ayuso to get this horse in a better spot in this one. 0 for 10 is last 10, unfortunately, with Antonio Garcia coming into this one. But I think that's much more trip dependent than anything else. Horse has been working well enough. They tried her down the hill. It didn't work. If you take that race out, her last 2 are a win over a mile at Los Al. And we see turf horses win there all the time. So that doesn't hurt that for me at all. And then comes back in an optional claimer. You mentioned it, that race on the last day of January at Santa Anita. Ran a good third in that one just by a length as well. So yeah, I think the 6 in here is very interesting. Laid it on the 2 after that. Decided to go with Ultimate High here, the 9-5 horse, with Flavian Pratt out of town and with, some of these guys out around on this Saturday. It does open up some of these races for other jockeys in here. So interested to see who it is that jumps up on turf in for the tag here, because the horse does not qualify for a waiver, is the 8-year-old in Ultimate High with Umberto Rispoli. Interested to see her run as well. Landed on the 1 in the 3rd spot here, Barry.
Yeah.
Based on the synthetic form, frankly, a Golden Gate, honestly. And so I would probably only play the 6 and the 2 here, but the 1, if she won, I wouldn't be stunned. How about that?
I would. I really
Okay, how
don't
about
like
that?
her
Oh.
in this spot. I really don't like her, and I probably just put her in the winner circle. But um, I
The
just don't
besmirchment.
the no, even the higher class Northern California horses are struggling down in Southern California. Um,
Yeah.
and drawing the rail here, it's just a tough task. I don't know if she can do it.
There you go. First four in the books. Reminder, we're hanging out with AmWager, amwager.com. Get in for their 100% match of $150 in your deposit. Right now, if you're a new customer, go over there, check out beautiful platform. Go check out their stuff at amwager.com. Race 5 closes out the early pick 5, starts the pick 6. The old $2 traditional pick 6 there at Santa Anita, $20,000 claimer. You can buy it down to 18 with weight. And for non-3 lifers, going 6 furlongs over the dirt course there. We are sprinting here, Barry. And I am a little bit off the board here with the 7 horse who's 7-2 in Big Celebration. Luis Mendez trains here. This horse was very good in a starter allowance at the $50,000 level both times out last 2 out. Gets to drop into this kind of company. And I think that the class drop will be very, very helpful here for this combination. They are hitting at 21%, R. Mendez and Escobedo this meet together at Santa Anita. And so that's good enough for me for favoritism for the 7. I know you agree with me on top there, and we both like the 1 at least to get a piece of this here in Isabel Ludlow. She ran last couple in dirt sprints at the claiming level, the 20,000 claiming level, and she's been at least right there as part of the race. 2 back, she's probably should have run. Probably should have won, I should say. Excuse me. I think she got a little distracted in the stretch and passed by Sharp Ride. So, yeah, I'm a little boring here, but I'll go 7-1. I think the 3 is a long shot is interesting. Stellar Cap in here coming out of most recently being claimed from Steve Knapp into the Gary Sturtbard. First off the claim, he's only won for his last 9, but he does hit at 17% in these kinds of races. Bautista will get them out here. Interested in that, but I think it's just a long shot because this horse has hit the board 5 times in 8 lifetime runs.
Yeah. I'm obviously agreeing with you on Big Celebration, and these horses, the big 3 in here, and I'm not using the 2 as the big 3. I'd say the
Right.
7, 5, and 1. There's not much separating these horses. I mean, in a pick 5 situation, I am surely going to use all 3 of these horses. But I chose the 7 as my top pick just because of the trip this horse is going to get. Be able to kind of time the speed on the inside. It's not a huge field.
Yep.
Should be able to get position and get the run of the race. This kid Escobedo rides this horse very, very well. That race at Los Al on December 14th, anything close to that wins this easily.
I think that's probably right. That was race 5. Apologies for the banner at the bottom there. Race 6 starts the late pick 5. This is an optional claimer, $80,000 optional claimer for non-2s. 6 furlong turf sprint here. This is for open, non just a Calbred company. $69,000. Nice. In the kitty here, Boss Sully comes in at 3-1, and Tagaron on the outside is 5-2. Barry, and I gotta say, for whatever reason, I don't like the 8 on top, but I think this is an opportunity. It's rare that you get this in horse racing, Barry. I don't know if you're like me, where you think the favorite's fine. So you put him in the second spot, and you put 3 horses in first place and 3 horses in third place, and you fill out your trifecta by who you think's going to run second. I think the 8 might run second here. That's kind of where I'm at on this race. I landed on top with the 5. I know you like a long shot here.
Yeah, I went to Game Time, the 7. This horse is kind of getting back to it after a couple years. Ran in July 21st, 2023, and then laid off until January 4th this year. Showed some speed off the bench and improvement second time off the bench on the cutback, and I think that might be the difference. Getting back to the flat 6 furlongs might make all the difference for this horse. I think this horse is fast enough to be where they need to be. I don't suspect this horse is going to be on the lead. I think the same trip they got last time is what they will want this time. And that might, the placement should make all the difference because this horse has talent.
I went 5-4-3 here. We're in trouble coming out of the Oceanside at a mile. Gets back to sprinting here for Juan Hernandez at 7-2. Horse has not run since July of last summer. So Barry and I both leaning on longer odds horses. I am interested in Boss Sully here I think Armando Ayuso is going to do a good job. This horse is coming out of that Stormy Liberal stakes race at the beginning of December. Just a little bit of time off. Feel like those workouts have been very, very good for Brian Corster. And so, Corner, excuse me. Interested to see how this horse looks after those works and off of the layoff here. And the wild card in here, no question. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's of note. If you look at Game Time's past performances, you can see this horse ran really well against Speedboat Beach, just missed, and Johannes, who were probably one of the or two of the better horses out there at the time, then comes back off the bench and gets in front of El Potente. That's why I think this horse has a great shot, especially at that price. I think we'll get somewhere around there. Probably not 8-1, but 6, I'll be happy.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably going to get 6-1. Is Vlahos the obvious wild card in here? The 3-horse only run on dirt. We saw this horse in the Zia Park Derby last year, actually, at the end of the year, ran in the Pate Mile and ran well in the Pate Mile as one of the favorites behind Seize the Grave. Vlahos, any chance this turns into a turf sprinter?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think that Gojo 1 can't hang with that horse, might be Lone Speed and just faster than everybody else. That's definitely a possibility. I'm betting against it, or I'm going to bet against it. But it's certainly possible. That wouldn't surprise me, especially the way this horse debuted.
All right. So we move on to race 7. We will start the late pick 4 here at Santa Anita. This is SoCal Saturdays with our friends at Amwager. Louie Barry Spears hanging out with you. Thanks for making us part of your horse racing weekend. $5,000 claimer for non-2 lifers. Folks, this is what horse racing is all about. 6 furlongs on the dirt, $15,000 person. This is for those Northern California horses who have either stayed in Northern California or have started a new life there in Southern California. Barry, my God, this was one of those where I stared at the page and really, really, really tried to come up with anything. I landed, for whatever reason, on Hermelinda's Fancy, the 8. Asael Espinosa rides this one. This horse was awful last time in a $16,000 claimer. Great news. We're dropping into the nickel category. Won at the maiden 8 level at Santa Anita over 6 furlongs. I think if the horse could repeat that race from February 7th, Barry, I think he wins in this spot. So if we can get back to that 23, 46, 59, 112 kind of split, I think the horse can win. So I'll put the 8 on top. Where did you land here?
I landed on number 10, 6 Hot Grands, who ran really good last time in a similar race and just got beat by Get 'em Dusty, who kind of ran off. Lurking Fear was also in that race and kind of was close to getting second, but didn't. I think this is a different sort of race where the 10 horse can stalk really, really easily here and get a really, really good trip because Roy Hobbs has to go from that inside position. I think Lurking Fear has some quickness, probably won't hang around for that long. And then you have the 3 who has some speed and also the 6. So there's enough pace in here for the 10 to really get a great trip. And I think that's going to make all the difference, especially in these races. There's really not too much separating these horses. But you gotta have to get some sort of separator somewhere and also keep the value, in the back of your head.
Yeah, you and I agree on the 10 here in 6 Hot Grands because I do think that outside post is helpful. A little weight allowance here down to 119, right? And I wonder, if we can get that horse we saw 4 back at Pleasanton over 5 furlongs, right? Can we get back to that kind of, this nickel level seems to be the right one for the 10 in 6 Hot Grands. Boy, this is a not stunned by too much in this spot because you're right. Because Roy Hobbs is going to have to go, which actually might work out, right? That might actually be a good thing.
That might
Roy
be
Hobbs
the best
too,
thing
right?
for him, right?
Yeah. So hard to know there. But the late pick 3, of course, we'll start with race 8, and a reminder with the late pick 3 that it is a $3 minimum bet for the last 3 races, and something that we encourage you to check out because that takeout very low at 15%, that higher denomination base pay, very, very good. I've seen it consistently paying 100 to 1 and better on most of the wagers, which is exactly what this show is looking for. The Santa Ana is the main race on the card. You can find my preview of this race and a horse by horse analysis of it at thesportingtribune.com every single week. I always take our picks from this show and I put them at the bottom in a pick four format. Hit the pick four last week as part of our analysis. Thank you to both me and Barry. Worked out pretty well there. We didn't change anybody's life, but you know what? Hitting a pick four is still hitting a pick four. So we'll be
That's
fine
right.
with
They
that.
give you ammo for this week.
Hey, look, you get $100 on a $24 bet. I don't know what else to tell you, people. The Santa Anita is a mile and a quarter. I love this one. For fillies and mares 4 and up on the turf course there. Start on that downhill course, cross over the dirt before we get going in this one. $100,000 at stake here. We see the return of Catherine Marissa on the outside, Barry, and this sets up well for her because the 8 doesn't matter when it's a mile and a quarter. She's going to have plenty of time to make her move and do all of those things. Do you trust her off of the layoff here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. She's the best horse at this distance, class-wise, distance-wise, everything else. She's going to be tough to beat in this spot. But I will use the 1, Lady Claypool, underneath. I like those last 2 races. This horse is the hot horse on the now and was finishing strong in those 8 mile and eighth races. Ran a mile and a quarter way back last April. And I think this is a better horse since that point. And hopefully we can get the good run up the rail and finish second and nail this exacta cold.
Yeah, Lady Claypool, third in my handicapping. So you and I landed on the same long shot underneath here. Thiago Pereira and Richard Baltas combining on that one. The two of them already 3 for 8 at in their most recent 8 runs, at Santa Anita. Very fine percentage there. I think Mrs. Astor, I think you're underrating her just a little bit here. Did win the Frankel at a mile and an eighth. Ran really well in the Dowager at a mile and a half at Keeneland. That was a considerably more difficult field than this one. She's coming off the layoff as well. This is something that Jonathan Thomas does at 15% pretty well, but he hits in grade stakes at 22%. This is what Jonathan Thomas has become really, really good at. So I would use the 8 and the 3 here, but I do think the 1 is a must use underneath, like Barry said. And I don't take, I know, at least from our conversations, Barry, that you have a similar feeling about this, which is a horse that can get distance, even at like an optional claiming level. When we're moving into a grade 3, especially on the grass, definitely worth using those horses still, because you never know, especially in a turf race.
Yeah, I mean, when was it? I was down at Gulfstream the first week of December, and they had this marathon race. It was the Jerkins, and it was pure chaos. I think a 60-1 shot won it.
Right.
And and that horse didn't really have all that form, but did like the distance. So whenever you see those moves in these marathon races, we don't run a whole lot of them. It's good to pay attention to who likes to run that far.
Anyone else in here, like Starry Heavens, for example? This is because this is the main race of the day here, Barry. Let's spend a little time seeing the field. First start in North America, which is something Phil D'Amato wins at a quarter of the time with, and first time in his barn at 22%, et cetera, et cetera. They start to match up. This horse has been working on the Topeka course there at Santa Anita since moving over here, but was 0 for 5 last year. Do you think much of that? Do you look at what happened last year as far as where this horse ran? Do you look simply at the North American numbers for a guy like Phil D'Amato? How do you handicap a horse like that?
You really don't. What I kind of do is I look at the highest level that they were running overseas and try to compare that to what we have over here. So this horse was running in Group 3 races, getting thumped. I don't know if that translates to a grade 3 here. Probably not. That's why I kind of sided against. But this horse ran a few good races in those in those losses, and it's hard to tell if that portion of that horse's body of work fits here. It's a tough read. I wouldn't take too short of a price, but if you get 5-1 on Starry Heavens and you like that sort of thing, I would definitely push.
Any chance that you would like the Sakura Blossom in here? This is a horse that they've tried at the grade 1 level in the Del Mar Oaks, ran in that Dueling Grounds Oaks at Kentucky Downs. Most recently was right behind Lady Claypool in her race. If you like Lady Claypool, is there a reason that Sakura Blossom could be part of an exacta trifecta?
I don't think so, because I think she's going to have to be, or she's going to be a little bit farther back than the 1.
Okay.
Just like last time. And I think that is a detriment, because a horse like that would need a trip to stick like glue to Omaha Girl in the lead and try to get first run and take off. And I don't think that horse has that ability.
Well, there you go. Late pick 3, or excuse me, late double, excuse me, starts with race 9. The race 9 is a maiden 50, 6 furlongs here, $37,000. In the kitty here, every horse in here in for the Tagberry. I'll go ahead and go first here because I like a long shot. I like the one in here in James J. Braddock. That's, by the way, far too serious of a name for a horse. Let's be better than naming a horse James J. Braddock. I got no time for that around here as I have a horse with a cigar in his mouth on my microphone. No time for that kind of thing. But James J. Braddock does drop for the second time into the maiden 50 level. I thought looked really good at 5.5 last time. Gets just even a little bit better this time as a 3-year-old in just the march of his career under Antonio Fresu here. I think that he can get it done. Where did you land here, Barry?
I saw a big bullseye on number 3, Charms Away. And I hate to say that about a horse that's going to be a short price, but everything indicates that this horse is going to run huge. I mean, this horse ran December 14th, laid off till March 1st, ran a better race than they did off the layoff, which is key.
Yep.
Slight drop to 50,000 and almost bullet in tow, 47-2 Hanley from the gate on February 23rd, and then gets the young rider who's riding well, Lasik second time. Everything points to this horse winning this race to me.
Okay. All right. I have the 3 in my second spot. I went to the 10 outside for a try on a debuter. Vladimir Sarin doesn't do this very often. So I wanted to take a shot maybe at a spot where a guy's trying to make his gelding fit. This is a son of Catholic boy going here at 6 furlongs. I don't love the works to this point, Barry, but I think a jockey like Juan Hernandez can get a horse like this into shape during the race and pick off something lower on maybe a second or third kind of finish. But you have this horse second in your handicapping.
Yeah, the pedigree isn't all that bad, and
right.
I think that I like the long stream steady works, especially the 4 and 5 furlong ones, and the very last work. I think this horse is fit and ready. It's just a matter of getting a trip. I still don't think that this horse can beat Charms Away, but at a price finishing up second, that's a really good exacta for me.
There you go. All right. The closer on the day. And before we get to that closer, a reminder, $5 double, 15% takeout starting in race 9. We love these elevated minimum wagers that they've got out at Santa Anita Park. Love those. So check it out that way. Maybe you're using that 3 in the first race, but we can find you one in the last. We encourage you to go wager with our friends at Amwager, amwager.com. Make sure you get in with them right now. $150 sign up match up to that amount, 100%. If you are a new user with them. Barry, I got a chance to bet on second timers in the last race. It is a maiden special for 65. Going 6 furlongs over that turf course. We are using that turf sprint quite a bit on this card, and I got no problems with that. Heck yeah, that's right, man. So I laid out the 6 here, Barry, in a second timer here, the Carmona Aguirre combination here. 87 buyer on debut. I thought looked really great. Gets caught right in the stretch, but was willing to do the work on debut. Has been working okay over the Tapeta, but if I get any kind of repeat, I think in this field that's good enough to win. Where'd you land?
Yeah, the same place for the same reason, and getting Lasix adds to the appeal. This horse kind of looks like a standout on paper. I will use that horse on top in exactas with the 11 and 12. Those 2 horses, the 11 has some quickness in the pedigree. There's some precociousness there. And nobody else really stands out. I mean, the 10 does a little bit, but should show some speed, but on paper doesn't look as quick as the 6. So I'm going to try to throw downfield and get a nice exacta with either the 11 or 12. 12 really doesn't have much pedigree wise, but the works are good.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I was just going to ask if it was based on pedigree, if it was based on something else, and obviously on workouts. Another second timer here for Kent DeZormo and John Sheriffs is the 10 and Tressa. I think those 2 are top for me for sure.
Yeah.
I thought the 9 was interesting as well as a first timer, Prestige Fungzen. I'll tell you what, if Juan Hernandez is going to have a big day, he's going to have to win with first timers. it's actually an interesting, part of his Saturday is that he's going to have to be great with those kinds of horses, but he's riding for Peter Urton, who, wins about 1 out of his every 10 or 11 of his maiden runners. But this horse has been working really, really well. And I think is worthy of a look based on Juan getting the mount there. So again, look for that late sequence bet.
There's always dreaming horse who stands for $2,500. They paid $120,000. That's got to count for something, right? Somebody likes them.
They think something that we don't know. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, there's a nice work, the nice work on March 3rd.
Yes.
There looks to be some talent there. I just don't like the price and, first time out with that trainer.
That's really if your argument is I'd rather have the 12 at 20 to 1, I'm not going to fight you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really the only difference between the two of them.
No, I'm not going to fight you on that at all. So again, amwager.com, get in with our friends over there. A 100% deposit match up to $150. If you haven't seen this platform, people, it is absolutely beautiful. Go check it out. A great place to place all your wagers in Southern California as we go through again, the sportingtribune.com, my Derby top 5 plus, Barry, is what I'm calling it, because I'm going to try to have a top 5 and then a couple other horses that are either in a Virginia Derby or about to run in a Louisiana Derby, something like that I'm watching for as well. I'm not going to ask you who your Derby favorite is right now, because I'm a friend, not a person just trying to fill time.
He's gonna
answer anyway. There it is.
yeah. I'm gonna answer. I like Barnes a lot, actually.
I know you do. Yeah,
Bang Up Rays and then River Thames. That's as far as I got. So I got a top 2. Those are the only 2 horses I like so far.
If I give
Hancock
you,
would be a close third.
Yeah, he'll be interesting in Louisiana. The if I gave you the Santa Anita Derby and the Gulf and the Florida Derby against the field, would you take that for the Kentucky Derby winner?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
At this point,
yes. I think I would too, because I get Journalism, Sovereignty, Barnes, River Thames.
I think those are the.
I mean, yeah,
right. That would be the top 5
right there
for me. That's tough.
Pretty good, y'all. It's pretty good. Pretty good. But yeah, so there you go. Well, he's Barry Spears at Urban Handicapper. He's the sniper, of course. We call him Barry around here. I'm Louie Rabeau at Radio Louie on all the stuff, so you can go find us there. Thanks again to our friends at Amwager and, of course, the Sporting Tribune and the Horse Racing Happy Hour. Of course, we'll be at the Wood Memorial in a couple of weeks. A week from Saturday, I'll be up at Turfway Park if people want to come by and say hi as we preview the Jeff Ruby Stakes as well. I would love to see you out there. Barry, thanks so much, my friend. Appreciate you. And we will see you next week. We're getting incredibly close to the Santa Anita Derby. We'll try to do a blowout show for that. Barry and I will do the SoCal Saturday Santa Anita Derby show Friday night in New York City. That's the nature of this sport, baby. I love it so much. So that's going to be a lot of fun with all of this. But for Barry Spears, I'm Louie Rabeau. This has been another edition of the Horse Racing Happy Hour SoCal Saturday series with our friends at Amwager and amwager.com. Good luck with all those wagers this weekend. See you next week.